Sorry. So as we're entering into our stewardship campaign this year, the theme that we came up with is expanding the realm of possibility. And so for the next few weeks, I'm going to be talking about different ways that we might begin to envision our lives, our communities, our world in a different and expanded ways. And to that end, I actually had no idea the direction this sermon was going to take when I gave Maya the title this week, because expanded possibilities leaves things pretty open. And I kind of feel like I've been out there a little bit cosmically the last few weeks. And so I thought, okay, give them some good old-fashioned grounded theology today. But then the problem became, what I realized is that my theological paradigm is expanding into a cosmic theological paradigm. And so I find myself perhaps going a little bit cosmic again today. So I don't know if this sermon's going to be a little bit of a stretch for some of us, or it might not be a stretch at all. So we'll see. Because today I do want to get back to some of our theological roots of Unitarian Universalism by looking at our Christian roots, but from, like I said, a more expanded paradigm. And I keep doing this, and I'm probably going to keep doing this because we're not going back to who we used to be. We, and I say this, when I say we, I mean us as human beings, I mean humanity, I mean our cultures, I mean these communities, I mean all of us. We're moving into this new, and I think kind of amazing, but uncharted territory. And I'm excited for it, but embracing this new world is going to require us to begin to expand our paradigms, embrace new possibilities for who we are and what we might be in the world. And I say this for us as individuals, I say this for us as Unitarian Universalists, and I say this for us as human beings. And a few years ago, and I've shared this, for those of you who have been around for a while, you've heard my what if question. I shared my story about my what if question in relation to deciding to go to seminary. And this was my story about how right out of college, I was working with people with dementia. And I started realizing that what they were experiencing in their reality and what I was experiencing were not the same thing. Some of them were having conversations with people I couldn't see. And my what if question was, well, what if our brains, when they're functioning correctly, are just creating this veil that's blocking us from this whole other realm of reality? And what if, as their brains are shrinking a little bit and beginning to deteriorate, that veil is getting thinner, and so they're more able to enter into these other realities? That question, oh my goodness, 30 years ago, is what prompted me. No, I'm not doing the math, but anyways, that's what prompted me to go to seminary. I wanted to ask that what if question, and I wanted to be able to ask that and not have to have answers from a biological point of view or a psychological point of view or a social work point of view. I wanted to say, but what if? Because if what if they're experiencing is real, then what I'm experiencing is our reality is so much bigger. So that was my what if question that led me here, that led me to seminary and chaplaincy and ministry. But recently I have this new what if question that has been stirring within me. And it's this inner knowing or question that something is not quite right, but I don't even know what it is that I want to ask because I'm not even sure what it is that's missing, if that makes sense. And it for a while now has felt to me like as a civilization, we're missing something so huge, but we don't even know that we're missing it because it's been gone for so long. It's like when you have a word on the tip of your tongue, but you can't find the word, but you know it's there. And that is happening to me more often recently. But this has been my feeling about my own spiritual awakening. And I feel like I'm awakening to something important that has been missing, but I can't and haven't been able to quite put my finger on what it is. And so I decided to ask for it. I didn't really know what I was asking for, but I felt like my heart was crying out for it. And then what happened was that I was answered in kind of a beautiful way. I came across a book called the Sophia Code, and the book, I think, is going to answer my heart calling. Because the answer that came to me, and this might sound a little bit weird, but what you're looking for is called the Sophia Dragon Tribe. And it's a circle of ascended. See, this makes me cry. So I guess my heart is missing it. A circle of masters of the divine feminine. And this book explores the lives of some of these amazing women through their channeled stories, and it includes their transmissions. And it's the story of Isis and Hathor, Green Tara, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Kuan Yin, and White Buffalo Woman. And the premise of the book is that all of these women mentors are here with us at this point in time. And some of these women, I'm sort of not ashamed to say, but disappointed to say I hadn't even heard of some of them until recently or even a few years ago. And that, as I think about it, makes me sad too. Why have none of us heard of any of these models of the divine feminine? And so as we talk about expanding possibilities over the next few weeks, I want to start with the what if question, exploring what if we expand our understanding of what the divine feminine really is? What if the story of Jesus started all the way back with Hathor and Isis and the Essenes, and what if it included the story of his grandmother Anna, who was this amazing mystic herself, who then birthed Mary, who was an ascended master who mentored Mary Magdalene, who, by the way, was not a prostitute, but an amazingly powerful and enlightened woman who was meant to walk alongside Jesus, expressing the divine feminine as he was expressing the divine masculine. What if that was the story that was supposed to have been told for 2,000 years? What if it turns out that they actually had an equal shared ministry and she was simply written out of the story? How might that change our understanding of the Jesus story and our own understanding of reality? And so I realized that what my soul has been longing for is an example, a role model, a blueprint for how to embody and understand the true balance of humanity through a blending of both the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And this quest is leading me on the search for a true embodiment and understanding of what that would mean. And it's also, and we're all kind of aware of this, but not, I mean, I don't think we're aware of how much the role of women have been written out of history, that there is kind of a full out war that has been waged to hide divine feminine consciousness, which has left humanity completely unbalanced, and not with a divine masculine, but a toxic masculinity that is permeating our cultures. Because you cannot have a divine masculine while repressing the divine feminine. It's simply not possible. You can't have one while repressing and hiding the other. That's not divine masculine, that's toxic masculinity. And the divine masculine has then also been repressed along with the divine feminine, because they're meant to be together. And I believe that this is why we are experiencing the disconnect, the illness, the darkness in our society right now. It's the imbalance that I think so many of us are needing and crying out to rebalance. And so in my heart, I've been trying to figure out what that means. What is it that my soul is missing? What is going on in this world, in this country, this attack of Mother Earth, of all things feminine, and even whitewashing and erasing the history of anything other than the perspective of the patriarchy? It's happening today, still. And especially it's like trying to rise up in some of these weird laws that people are trying to pass throughout the country. And so a few weeks ago, I talked about the need for us to expand our minds and understanding of consciousness beyond just our intellect. And I talked about inspiration and intuition and the subconscious and assimilating and acclimating and all the different levels of mind that we're meant to be embracing. But what if we also expand that realm of possibility to embrace and embody and bring back the divine feminine in our lives, in our world, in our culture? Consciousness is expanding, and as it does, the divine feminine is reappearing. And that scares a lot of people. Because like I said, it didn't just disappear. It has been intentionally hidden and suppressed. And so I invite us now to suspend our understanding of what we think we know about Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and try to hear them in a new way today, in their own words. What if both of these Marys were so much more than what they were given credit for? We're taught that they were a scared pregnant teenager and a prostitute. What if they were two of the most powerful, wise, and enlightened women that humanity has ever known? What if they were very much a part of the story of Jesus and were walking alongside him as full equal partners the entire time? What might those two women have to teach us about our own journeys as both men and women and people who identify as non-binary? What might we hear from them if we hadn't been raised in a culture that maligned and silenced the divine feminine perspective for thousands of years? So I want to share some of the words that are in this book and just I invite you to listen with an open mind, with open heart, with open ears, and let these words sink in for you however you're able and willing to receive them. So in her transmission, Mother Mary says, "You are here to immaculately rebirth the return and reconciliation of the divine feminine Christ with the divine masculine Christ energies for the heart of humanity. My deepest desire is for humanity to know itself as the divinity it seeks. The disconnection between humanity and divinity has gone on for far too long. You are poised at a time of great planetary awakening where humanity has unprecedented access to a global network of spiritual insight and support from countless masters, both seen and unseen. The quantum leap points to the readiness of humanity's heart to remember its direct connection to Sophia and its true readiness as a species." So I'm going to repeat one of those sentences. My deepest desire is for humanity to know itself as the divinity it seeks. The disconnection between humanity and divinity has gone on for far too long. What if we expand our minds to really contemplate this? What if we begin to understand ourselves in this new way as a connection, that we have a connection with our own divinity? How might we do this? And what if we have missed the purpose of the story of Jesus and his death and his teachings altogether because half of the story has been omitted and intentionally suppressed? So now we get to Mary Magdalene, and she explains her purpose and her role in working alongside Jesus. It was essential that a divine feminine Christ teaching embodiment capable of leading both men and women would be available to support the spiritual revolution that would ignite Palestine with the return of Mary's son, Jesus. I wanted to believe what Mother Mary shared with me about her son, but I withheld full belief in his ability to lead us until finally meeting him in person. Deciding who Jesus was for myself was an important step in opening my heart to follow his lead and take up my opportunity to teach by his side. What if this whole time Mary Magdalene was fully consciously aware of her own strengths, gifts, and purpose, and viewed herself as a full equal with Jesus and his ministry? I was a wealthy, independent woman with an extraordinary education, and I did not have to answer this call to embody the divine feminine Christ as a supporting teacher in his movement. I needed to intuitively experience his own embodiment of both the divine masculine and the divine feminine energies to trust that serving in alignment with his ministry was the best use of my gifts and life force. She was a woman in her full power and only decided to walk alongside him after he proved himself to her. And she shares how Jesus came to her in a dream shortly before they met in person the first time. He lightly touched my third eye and whispered, "It is safe to follow me. I know how your great gifts will liberate the suffering of many. I am here to prepare the way for you to walk this journey with me, side by side in our shared mission. Your passion for Sophia will not be dishonored, by following me. I am here to create safety for the collective gift of our whole family of light to rise as one body. Allow me to make the way ahead easier for your wisdom to be shared with those who need you. Imagine if this was the conversation taking place 2,000 years ago. And so their ministry together began. She writes, at our large gatherings, we would often sit side by side, yet at a designated distance, co-directing the collective consciousness of the large crowds. Our individual embodiments were so magnetic that those who were meant to receive healing work empowerments and teaching directly from me would line up before me. Those ready to receive their empowerments directly from Jesus would line up before him. Our disciples and initiates would encircle us and assist as needed. The sight of a female teacher sitting in a full lotus posture in equal status with a highly respected male teacher was unheard of in our society. Yet Jesus's divine masculine presence was a force of nature. He would enfold the masses in his golden white light of Sophia Christ consciousness. This would temporarily assuage, elevate, and accelerate the crowd's awareness beyond judgment so that they could clearly see and access my offering beyond gender. My auric field would also expand as well to clear and soften the hearts of people to Jesus's work. Most of my mission was focused on healing and empowering an entire population of women who believed it was their duty to be abused, used, and discarded at the will of another. Let's just think about that for a moment. If we're expanding our realm of possibility, and we do actually have these auras and these chakras and all of these things that I've been talking about for all these years, and you have two people who have learned how to embody that mystical part of them to the extent that they were doing this ministry together. That really would change the world. That he, with his aura and his gifts, was able to sort of protect her with his energy so that she could do what she needed to do. And she talks about how his auric field was so expansive that in many ways it protected her. Those who would go to speak of a healing facilitated by me would often only remember Jesus's face. And in this, I would remain relatively unseen by those who would harm me for being seen. I'm going to say that again. In this, I would remain relatively unseen by those who would harm me for being seen. And how many of us throughout the ages have decided that it's just safer to remain unseen? What if we had had this role model all along for somebody who was willing to be seen? And she saw herself as a co-equal. She says, I never felt that I was beneath him or in the servitude to Jesus in any way. His integrity was immaculate, and his devoted acts for reconciling the divine feminine and the divine masculine went above and beyond every day. Our spiritual alliance encoded humanity's collective consciousness with a true template for the reconciliation of the divine masculine and the divine feminine Christ energies. Our constant focus upon service and uninterrupted work revealed the power of how men and women can access their divinity together, rising above base cultural survival strategies to serve a mighty good in wholeness and integrity with one another. We were both so filled by the Holy Spirit pouring through us that our daily experiences of working with one another created a blueprint for a future golden age that is upon you now. That is upon you now. What if? What if those words might even have the most remote possibility of being true? What if, and what does that mean for us? And what does that mean for those of us who are here and get to be alive right now as all of this wisdom is coming back? What if? We were sowing seeds of consciousness for a spiritual revolution that would remain underground until the conditions were right for the roses of our Sophia Christ teachings to be revealed once again. What if? She said, I also witnessed that after Jesus's ascension, much of what we were teaching would be misunderstood and misused for centuries to come. Following Jesus's ascension, Mother Mary and I fled to France, channeling in the refuge of caves. I prophesied that my name would be maligned and hidden for an entire dark age. I also witnessed that my reputation would not be restored until thousands of years later, when the voices of women ushering in a new golden age would reach into their cellular memory and remember the truth of my divine feminine Christ embodiments. I'm going to try to say that again because I cried through it, but I also witnessed, I just want us to hear this. What I'm saying today is a lot, so it's gonna, I mean, we have to take it in, but I just want us to try to feel this in our bodies. I also witnessed that my reputation would not be restored until thousands of years later, when the voices of women ushering a new golden age would reach into their cellular memory and remember the truth of my divine feminine Christ embodiment. It means that we need to start loving ourselves. This is not just for women. This is for men too, because divine balance is feminine and masculine, and we collectively have lost both. And so this invitation is for all of us to reach into that cellular memory and think about what we might have lost or forgotten and who we are. She finishes it with, well, she doesn't finish, it's a big book, but she says, Jesus, myself, and our many allies set into motion a movement that provided a foundational blueprint for your generation to rise up to in radical spiritual leadership. Provided a foundational blueprint for your generation, that would be us, to rise up in radical spiritual leadership. So I wonder, what does that mean for us today? What are the possibilities for us individually and collectively if we truly begin to expand beyond the limitation of what centuries of spiritual and mental oppression and suppression have allowed? What are the possibilities of expansion if we release our fear, look for the hidden and suppressed truths in long told stories? And what if we let some of the other stories go that no longer serve us as we open our minds, our hearts, and our ears to hear and receive new stories that will truly uplift and heal humanity through authentic, divine masculine and feminine balance? What if we begin to truly embrace in our hearts the idea that the divine feminine is beautiful, safe, and about to return? How does that expand our realm of possibility? With that, let us sing. Come sing a song with me.